Hey, we are live, so welcome back to another town hall, everyone. Let me get the YouTube chat out here. Okay. Let me share my screen and we'll dive into it. Okay, we got the YouTube chat in the lower right there. If you want to help keep an eye on that. Oh, I didn't do this today. Oh, that was today. Sorry.
I'm
You're
on
on
the
it, John?
job.
Okay, thank you. All right, so action items, finally got through these thanks to Rick, who took over the metrics reporting. That gave me some extra time this morning. So I did redirect the chapter's email to our help desk. That's done. So that means I removed that account, John. There's no longer a chapters at e-NABLE.org account. I set it up as a group address that routes into our help desk, and I sent a test message through. Here it is, that came right into our help desk. And if we look at the original message that I sent here, you'll see that it was sent to chapters at e-NABLE.org, but it got rerouted to this custom address that goes to our Zoho help desk. And if we respond to this, it'll come back from chapters at e-NABLE.org. So it's a very seamless experience, but everything comes right into the help desk now, so that Rick will see those going forward. So that one's done. Then the next one was for Rick and I to meet and review options for the chapter audit, which we did. And we came up with a questionnaire, and we'd like to review that with the rest of you today. Make sure that you all agree with what we're going to be doing there before we send it out. And the next one was for me to train Rick to do the weekly metrics, which we did, and he has taken that over. So thank you very much for that, Rick. That'll be a big time saver, as you can already see. Next one was for me to figure out how to get logged into the e-NABLE matching platform from France, which I did. I was able to get logged in. Where do I have it here? This one. So here I am logged into the admin. I still, however, don't know how to get logged into their, what I guess is their custom admin, the interface where they can actually see the pins on the map and do the matching and stuff like that. That's at some custom page, and I don't know what that is. So I'm going to need to reach out to Thierry to get some guidance on that. But since I do have access to the back end now, at least, and here you can see how we still have all this, some of this custom stuff is still in French, but more importantly, as I'm poking around and looking at how many plugins need to be updated and stuff, and I figured, well, what the heck, we can go ahead and start updating some of those. But as I did so, I noticed that these are actually paid plugins, and we're not going to have the full functionality, and we can't get the updates until we register some of those. So there's actually going to be some costs if we wanted to get this up and running. They're using a plugin for the translation, multi-language translation, and they're using another one for various tools. I haven't looked into it enough, but other types of plugins that are paid. I don't think any of them are too expensive, probably, $30 a year here and, $40 a year there, but it's something that we'll have to address if we want to explore this more deeply. So that's where that's at. I need to get help with getting access to that other aspect of the admin. And then I'm going to need help from somebody that has some level of French. It sounded like, was it Adam that said he might be able to assist a little there?
Probably so.
Okay, so I'll need some help after that to actually start digging into the system and seeing what we can do with it, but I'm not quite there yet. So I'm going to leave that on as a reminder that I need help getting into that other part of the admin that I don't know where it is yet. Next one here is for Adam, who's working on coordinating a meeting among our new leadership team. And I know that's still in progress. We're still struggling to get a good fit for a time that works for everyone. So I'll just leave that. I don't know if Adam's going to be able to join us today. John, finish and send annual report for Dora. Did we get that done?
Didn't get it done, but I am working on it.
Okay, I'll just leave it there.
Yep.
And then I thought, oh, we decided, Ben wanted us to leave this one on here. Any updates then with regards to interns and
Well, yes.
okay.
Apparently Ben met with Nush, but I'll meet with him immediately after this meeting.
Okay.
Having failed to meet with him on 2 occasions, my fault.
Well,
Uh,
we'd still
that's the
really
update.
we'd like to get him to join us for one of these. Please remind him of that.
I
See if-
think he's not free at 11 in the morning. He does have
okay.
classes, but I'll
Okay.
check on that. And Sarah, if you can join us for that meeting immediately after this one, that would be great. Sarah, who is on mute,
Yes, I can.
I'll send you the invite.
Okay.
Jeremy, you're on mute. And have been since Sarah stopped talking.
Sorry, I clicked the unmute, but I guess I didn't click it right. Sorry, folks. I was just ironically complimenting Sarah on using good Zoom manners and staying, muted when not talking. That's anyway. These are the metrics that Rick has taken over now. So we had a meeting and went through the spreadsheet and where each of these different data points comes from. And he's all set to do that going forward, which is a big help to me. So thanks again, Rick, for doing that. And let me know if you want to make any changes and how we're doing that or what data we're collecting, and I can help you there. So he'll be handling that going forward. All right, from the hub, this is, I have to admit, one of my favorite parts of the meeting, kind of looking at key posts of the week. And there wasn't a lot of activity this week. I only had one post to share. And this is one that we looked at before, actually. This was Joshua Trubinsky, who had posted about this rather young recipient. And we had talked about this last time and started this discussion about, how young is too young. And that's why I wanted to share it again, because interestingly enough, the discussion went in that way. Christoph asked how old he is. And then Yakov said that their experience in Israel is that the minimum age is 4 to 5 years, which lines up with what John was saying, when the child recognizes clearly that he's missing part of his hand and starts to ask about it. Before that, it's useless and may create problems. I thought that was well summed up, and Christoph said they had the same conclusion, and Joshua appreciated that, said it makes sense. Don't know exactly how old he is, but he does seem a little too young. So I was just glad to see that it went that way, and I just wanted to share that update since we had talked about it. So on we go. Our recurring meetings. Next up, we have the educational meetup. Now, that's usually the first Monday, but I'm showing it on the calendar for today. Is that right, John? Do you know? See, now I said that about staying muted when you're not talking, and I messed you up because you're muted.
I'm really not sure. I didn't see it on my calendar, so I'm meeting with Noosh at noon. That's all I know.
So we've
And,
got it on the calendar here at 1 p.m. Eastern today.
well, I think since it's on the calendar, I will meet
I
with
guess it
Noosh at noon in the meeting.
well, so this is noon my time that you're seeing here. So it's actually 1 p.m. that it starts Eastern for you.
Okay, then, again, I guess while we're getting up to speed, Sarah and I both need to get better at setting up these meetings. Are you free before 1 to walk Sarah and me through the drill so that I don't have to keep asking you for this?
Let me see. I think so. I think right after this, I can take some time to do it. So maybe we can just stay in after we stop the live stream.
I'm going to suggest that we shift over to the channel where I'll be meeting with Noosh at noon.
Okay.
And we'll use the beginning of the meeting to do what you just said, and then you can leave, and then Sarah and I will talk to Noosh, and then if there's a meeting, we'll get that going.
Let me think about that for a second. There's actually a good reason not to do that if we want to be able to set it up in
no problem.
advance.
I'll just make a point of
Are
coordinating with Noosh.
Are you saying that your meeting with Noosh was supposed to be right at the conclusion of this meeting?
Yes.
Now I understand.
But I'll step away for a minute, deal with him, and then I'll be back.
Okay, I'll think about it while we're meeting here. Maybe we can just shift over and make it work for this time. Anyway, let's go on, see if we can get through this, maybe wrap up a little early and do it at the tail end. We'll see how it goes. So I assume it's the educational meetup today, an hour after the conclusion of this meeting for those who can join. Upcoming one-time events, the only one I have here listed is Thunder Gong, and I'll be honest, I don't remember what the heck that is. Does anybody? I don't remember.
I'm on my way.
I don't remember who shared this, but apparently it was something they thought might be of interest. Let's just pull it up here real quick. Oh, this is the one hosted by Jason Sudeikis. I think Adam shared this.
Right.
Sounds like a fun show, but I'm not going to be able to make it out there for this. Jason Sudeikis, Fred Armisen, good talent there. Anyway, that's raising money for Limb Different community, as I recall. November 12th for anyone that wants to make a trip. Anyway, let's get into our discussion topics. Annual report we already covered. John's wrapping it up, so that'll be done soon. Let us know if you need anything else to help with that, John.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to see that Adam isn't here because I thought this was a really exciting update. I'm going to go ahead and read what he sent me. He and Rick have been working together. Rick got him connected with his friends over at 50 Legs. And Adam says, I've had a couple of really interesting conversations with Steve Chamberlain, the founder of 50 Legs in 50 Days. He gives the website address there. It's a nonprofit based in Florida, and Rick Williams brought them to my attention. In a nutshell, they perform fundraising in order to provide lower extremity prosthetics to adults and kids in the US who otherwise couldn't afford them. They've provided over 600 devices to people in the last 10 years since they were founded. Steve is a loud, brash, and very excellent person. He's also a personal friend of Hulk Hogan's, and I've become a big fan of 50 Legs. Among the 20 or 30,000 amputees who have connected with their organization, Steve estimates that they have up to 5,000 upper extremity arm and hand amputees who could benefit from e-NABLE's network. He's going to talk to his director and or head prosthetist tomorrow and get confirmation, but he sounds really confident that there's a big need that we could help fill. And I would say this goes both ways. I mean, he didn't say it, but we have needs, we know in Afghanistan and elsewhere for people with lower legs that we're not able to address. Maybe there's a way that we can partner both ways here. I'd love to know more about this. So next time Adam joins, unless Rick, were you part of these meetings? Do you know any other details?
No, I basically gave the information to Adam so he could bridge a meeting with Steve.
Got it. Well, thank you for doing that. It looks like it was very fruitful, and we'll get an update from Adam next time. It sounds like it really could be a very potentially powerful partnership. Another quick update. I mentioned in the past that I would like to develop a new kit through my company for some kind of a bionic device or a bionic kind of experimenter's kit, maybe, that has a bunch of different components that could be used to do lots of different things with bionics. We're still trying to figure it out. I did meet with the Bionic team and we got some input, and we decided that the best course of action would be to set up this spreadsheet, which I did, to help gather recommendations from those with the right experience. So I've got some instructions here, and then there's a bunch of tabs. So some general information about, their approach to doing bionics and any existing e-NABLE designs that they're leveraging, and kind of the value they see in offering a kit like this. And then there's a tab for each component. Vivek helped me to kind of break out what he sees as the high-level categories of a bionic device. We have sensors, we have controller boards, we have actuation mechanisms, programming languages, power components, and display. And for each one of these, I'm asking people to just come in here and just kind of fill in what they've found works well, and a link where I can go and see that thing and learn more, and then some comments about that. And Rick Williams and Eric Bubar have both come in and done that. Very, very helpful. I would love to see others jump in and fill this out. In fact, Skip Metz, I think it would be a great contributor to this. I got to get him plugged into this. And anyone else with any bionic experience, please. If you don't, I posted this in the hub, as well as sending it directly by email to those that we identified as being involved in bionics. But if anyone doesn't see that and needs a link, please reach out to me. We're hoping to gather from this kind of a list of all the components that might go into a kit, and then we'll work on seeing if we can source all those things and put something together. And so it's a work in progress, but we did make progress.
Great.
All right, chapter audit. So Rick and I met, and we came up with a new form, a Google form, which we've used in the past. We came up with a revised one, though. So this is e-NABLE Chapter Audit 2022, and I'd like to review this with everyone here because I want to get some validation before we send this out. So we changed some of the intro language to try to let people know why this is important. We decided to actually put audit in the title because we feel that that kind of gives it a little bit of a more serious tone, like we really need, responses on this. Each year, e-NABLE needs to provide reporting to our financial supporters to show them what we've accomplished and to justify another year of support. In order to create these annual reports, we need the following information from your chapter. I'm hoping that that language will kind of give them a little bit more sense of urgency. So email address required. What's the name of your chapter? Date when your chapter was first established. How many members or volunteers do you currently have? About how many prostheses did your chapter fabricate, assemble, and donate during this past year? And about how many prostheses have you fabricated, assembled, and donated since your chapter started? And then please provide the current contact information for your chapter leader. Apparently we lost some of what we had before and we need to update our contact info. And then is there any alternate contact information to use if we're unable to reach the primary contact, something that we've never really had before? So how do you think, how do you feel about these questions? Do you think we missed anything? Do you think anything in here should be eliminated? Feedback, please.
I think it's great. I think change please provide to please update.
Contact information?
Yeah. And at the very top, your second question caught my eye. No. The date when it was first established. Not a big deal. But you know, you might move it down because that's my first reaction was, gosh, they should know this by now. So move it to the bottom.
Okay. You know what? It just occurs to me that our chapter spreadsheet itself is based upon badges being issued. And so when the chapter badge gets issued, we already have that date timestamp, don't we, Rick?
There's actually a column in the awesome spreadsheet that has the date established, but it has never been kept up.
I understand, but what I'm saying is there's another column that actually shows when the actual chapter badge was issued. Is there not?
I don't recall.
Okay. I mean, at the very least, you know,
must exist in the badge database.
Right. I mean, at the very least, if you go to the badge and chapter management space and we go to what would it be? The badger assertions. Here you have an archive of every badge that's ever been awarded, so we can see exactly what date and time they became an officially authorized chapter if we use this. However, I guess we have chapters that came long before this. No, they've all gone through and gotten their badge through this, have they not?
Why don't you enter chapter into the search box?
Oh, we could export to Excel and then filter very easily. But yeah, here we have community chapter badges. The only problem is all you're seeing is a person's name. So you have to find out which chapter that is. And then I guess you can do it by clicking. Oh no, I guess it doesn't have the details. Anyway, it's something to look into. The question is, do we need to ask that? And I guess, Rick, you and I should maybe do a little digging first to see if we already have that data. And if so, we can take that question out entirely. But otherwise, John thinks we should move that down.
I'm putting it in now. When I open a chapter, I put the year in.
Okay.
But that's all I do now is I put the year in. I have it bolded so people will know it's different because there were some extraneous dates in there that 1970, and I took all of those out.
I just moved it down the list and I said approximate date, so at least that'll be better, and we'll see if we have the data already before we go with that. Any other recommendations here?
No, I think it's terrific.
Okay, so then the
what you've been doing.
next step would be to go to our we have that spreadsheet that has all the chapters, the one that Rick manages, and that of course includes an email address for each one. And so it's just a matter of grabbing all of those emails, pasting that into an email segment in our benchmark email platform, and then building an email to go out to them with a link to this form, which I can do pretty easily now that I have sort of some buy-in from folks here. And so that's the plan. So I would say in fact, let me put that as an action item. And then hopefully by the next week's meeting, I can report that we've got this in progress and we're basically just waiting on data.
Now, Ben and I had a debate about whether to delay the annual report until we got the audit done, but I was afraid that could you
I
know,
think
set us
given the
back by,
email, given
a
the
long
email from
time.
Dora, we got to get them something. It would be fine to send them, an
follow-up.
addendum later, but.
Good morning,
Okay.
team. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, hi, Adam.
Adam.
I just shared the exciting news a little while ago. Hold on a second. I got to change a setting here because I'm not seeing non-video participants, so I can't see you anywhere.
You're good. I'm once again multitasking, so I'm off video for the moment.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't even know you were here because there's not a placeholder for
Oh,
you.
you're good. I joined literally 15 seconds ago. You're fine.
Okay.
But he's
Anyway.
tuning his Zoom so that when you
Yeah.
arrive, he can tell.
I just don't know where that setting is, so I won't worry about it.
But Adam, we read
we-
verbatim your terrific report about the 50 legs.
Oh, yeah.
People.
Yeah,
And
so I
that's very exciting.
I hope you
Yeah,
don't
it's
mind.
amazing.
I shared exactly what you sent to me.
Oh, that's
and
fine.
I think I was saying, I think it's a very exciting partnership, and you don't say it here, but I assume you recognize the same thing, that it seems to me that this is a potentially two-way partnership because we've been looking for a way to address leg needs. So, hey, this seems like it really could be a win-win.
Do you want me to just, I can do a quick high level hits.
Why don't you? Yeah, let's keep it a brief update for today.
You
but
got
please
it.
Tell us where what we do next year.
Yeah, well, even briefer, I'll just shout out to Rick, who brought 50 Legs to my attention. We were chatting a little bit about the Afghanistan Initiative and the need for legs, and he brought up this guy Steve Chamberlain, who, if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you Google Steve Chamberlain and 50 Legs, because you're going to get a lot of pictures with him and his good buddy Hulk Hogan. Steve is a really great guy. He has got a mouth like a sailor and like the biggest heart in the world. He's an amputee, a lower extremity amputee, who started this foundation after his own personal struggles and after a prosthetist fabricated a leg for him just pro bono. And his initial goal was to donate 50 legs to 50 people in 50 days. And in the past 10 years, they've gifted over 600. And next year, they're on track to donate over 200 just next year alone. So it's pretty spectacular.
Do I have the wrong address, or is their site actually down?
Oh, it might be down. I don't know.
Okay.
It looks like it's a WordPress, so
Yeah.
so that wouldn't be surprising. But yeah, it's pretty amazing, the work that they've done. So they are 100% domestic. So all of their work, all of their giving is in the continental United States, as I understand it. Well, I shouldn't say continental. Maybe they service Hawaii and Alaska too. But yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity here for, at the very least, from One Direction partnering with their network to get a handle on some folks, well, a huge number of folks who may be in need of upper extremity devices. And then in the other direction, I was hoping to chat with him about whether it would be feasible, or whether there's anyone in the network who'd be interested in some like lower extremity campaigns. I don't know if that would have to stay domestic. I don't know how that lines up with their mission, you know. But if it were, the other thing is that obviously this is not like a 3D printing group. This is primarily a group of, you know, this is a 501c3. They've got a board and.
Well, that's part of what makes it such a great fit. I mean, right? Because legs, you know, 3D printing isn't the right approach for lower limbs. And so
yeah, not for the majority of it. Yeah.
We both have skills that the other needs.
Agreed. Yep. And that is a natural segue to another topic I wanted to talk to you all about, but I'm going to save that for another time until I have a more complete idea.
Okay.
But connecting nonprofits is something that's going to be bigger in my future, and I'll talk to you more about that another time.
Very powerful approach. I look forward to talking about that.
Yep.
But yeah, I appreciate that. We've got a lot to get through today, so I'm going to move on.
Yep.
And we'll revisit that next time. So we just talked about the chapter audit process, and I think we're good to go there. So I was just putting in an action item for myself, which I forgot. Oh no, I did. Create and send email for chapter audit to get that going. So we'll get that started this week. And Well, actually, I'm looking at my topics here. We don't have as much as I had intended. We can go back to, we had this discussion about the Lumio voting process, which we never finished. We have to come to some decisions about what we want to propose there and then put something up on Lumio for the community to vote on. We could continue with that discussion today, or we could talk more about, Adam, is there anything to discuss with regards to the Afghanistan initiative today?
Stepped away from my phone. Sorry, just unmuted.
No problem.
Yes and no. Yes, in that I believe that my folks in Kabul are better understand that it's not going to be an immediate delivery, that we've really got to get this pipeline established. I haven't had any additional contact with the leader of the Pakistani e-NABLE group, but that's going to be the best chance to have a reliable delivery pathway. So if anyone here is able to help facilitate communication with, I think it's Grit 3D in Pakistan, then let me know. Okay, awesome.
Ben.
Okay, great. Because that is how we're going to have the highest percentage chance of things being delivered without being waylaid or delayed. Beyond that, I've been in touch with Utkarsh with the Helping Hands project in North Carolina. Incidentally, my wife and I are going to North Carolina for an unrelated Asheville vacation in a couple of weeks, and she has made me promise up and down that I'm not going to do any e-NABLE stuff while I'm there. It's going to be hard.
Good.
But
good for you.
Yeah, but so Utkarsh let me know that Eastern Carolina University, ECU, that they have pledged to have a couple of people effectively act as interns for the Afghan Initiative. So we haven't talked yet. We haven't laid out exactly what that's going to look like or what kind of time commitment they're willing to pledge to. But man, that would help a lot, having some extra hands, some helping hands even, to help get this done. Because really, I've been running out of hours in the day between my day job and this. So
I can imagine.
That would be great.
Okay, good. Well, as always, let us know if there's anything else we can do to help, but it sounds like you've got a good lead there.
Yeah, and before I forget, oh my God, I'm blinking on the name. The charity event in Kansas City for amputees here, which is being hosted by Jason Sudeikis, and it's called
Thunder Gong.
Thank you, Thunder Gong. I can't imagine how that fell out of my head. That's in just a few weeks in November, mid-November. And I have reached out to the coordinators there to see about, with no real objective in mind, just to kind of say, hey, this is who I am and this is who I'm with. But I'll let you know if I hear anything there too.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam. Always wonderful work. John says he has an update for us from the chapters meeting about what we're doing to help the folks in Ukraine. Talk to us.
Right. So we made contact with a Ukrainian American from Birmingham, Alabama, name escaping me right now, from adapt3d.org, which is a 501c3 designed to use 3D printing for support of people who need medical splints and such things in Ukraine. We were joined also by Yuri and another guy who are both in Ukraine. One of them is the creator of a big hub of makerspaces in Ukraine, a collection of makerspaces. And the other is working with a surgeon in, I think, Dnipro. And you put them all together, and we now have some people on the ground, a channel to 2 medical professionals, and a proven product, if you will, which are easy to print, flat printed PLA thermoformable splints. We have activated the hub space called European Crisis Support, and we are pulling the pieces together. There's more information about this, including a summary of this call, in the hub space called the European Crisis Support. And in connection with that, Rick did some wonderful work, as you can see on your screen, prototyping some logos. And it might be fun to brainstorm on that a little bit during this meeting also. At some point, and I think it can and should be soon, we really should think about how to really try to stir the waters on this. Make it very easy for people, which it already is, but make it clear to people that it's already easy to download these prints, to do them, to send them to Birmingham, and if you're in Europe, to Julie Tsoni in Greece, who has offered to be a European hub, and they will get their way to Ukraine. So putting it all together, we, I think, have opened that logjam, and we now have a way that we can and should mobilize the e-NABLE community, start printing these splints, which, by the way, as far as we're concerned, will benefit wounded people of all persuasions. It is not necessarily a partisan effort.
This is really cool. John, when people want to get involved and help with this, are they printing them and shipping them flat where they then get thermoformed on site?
Exactly.
Okay, so you don't do the thermoforming as a maker, that gets done with the actual recipient.
That's right. So, you know, as you know, this is a really good system. Printing flat is easy. They ship in bulk very effectively.
Absolutely.
Thermoforming is relatively easy. Use hot water or a hair gun, and then it's a custom splint deliverable on the field.
Hey, can I ask really quickly? So just because I've done thermoform casting and bracing as a PT in the clinic, how does this differ from traditional thermoform materials? Is it cheaper, or is it, or do they not have access to those, and that's the role this is filling? Or,
you know, it's a fair question, and I haven't a clue. It seems to me the traditional thermoform materials are solid thermoformable plastic.
correct.
And don't.
We do have the benefit of being able to take their STL file. We can bring it into the Cura slicing software, tell it the cost of the material per spool that we're printing with, slice it, and it'll actually tell us this print will use, you know, so many grams of material and it'll cost you this much. So we can find that exactly the cost of one of these. I suspect from what I just saw that, I mean, using something like a tough PLA, which is easily formable, or maybe a PET G, either way, you're looking at, I suspect, something that's going to be like 50 cents or so worth of material. I would have to assume that a medical grade thermoforming material would be more than that, but I don't know. You tell us, Adam.
Yeah, I have no idea. I never managed the acquisition of those materials in the clinic, but and there's also a great deal of waste because you cut off a lot, and that just goes to the trash can.
True.
When you're fitting it. So, you know, that is not to throw water on this. I was just curious because I guess I'm approaching this with the privilege of someone who's only ever worked in the United States, and if I want something, I just like reach behind me and I grab it off the shelf.
I guess comfort, you know, comfort might be another aspect just because of the obvious breathability with something like this. I don't know.
And weight, weight. I'm imagining is and that does look like it would be pretty sturdy too. So that's really cool. I think I talked a little bit about Gecko Skin, which was a company that was coming up back in 2014, 15. I was in the clinic when they came and showed off their 3D camera and how you can form a splint or a brace to a person's limb using 3D printing in exactly this way. But they had to like outsource their stuff to a 3D printing lab because they didn't, you know, the commercial stuff just wasn't up to the task back then. But yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, very good. I'm gonna have to look into that more. That's the kind of thing that you could easily do with an idle 3D printer and just have it churning, you know, just cranking those out. Okay, where were we? Any other updates then on that situation, John?
No, that is the situation. I'm going to talk to Sarah. I would love to have somebody stirring the pot and priming the pump. I was going to suggest that because this is where Ben would normally step in and really start to promote this in the main hub forum and try to get people to jump into the space and get involved and really keep it in people's attention. So exactly, Sarah, you'd be a great value if you can help us to just kind of bring more attention to this effort and drive people to that space.
All right, so before we get into any discussion about the Lumio voting process, which is kind of a heavier discussion, let's take a break for something a little lighter, get some show and tell from Rick there, who's been doing stuff on screen. I got to see what this is about. So what you been working on there, Rick?
Nothing. This is actually just this is how we test our Bionics. When we're running new code, we have a Bionic Hand that we send the test code to.
Okay.
And it simulates all the movements of all the fingers, thumbs, and all of that. And if the code works, then we upload it to the Bionic target. It's just a test. It has 15 servos.
So what is that device? What is that design? Where is that from?
This is just a like I said, it's just a dummy. It's just a dummy test. It looks like a gorilla hand, but it allows me to test every segment of the finger.
I know, but that hand, you've got interlocking components, you've got driving mechanisms. I mean, where did that design come from? Is this something you got on Thingiverse? Did you make this yourself?
I made it. It's just our test. It's just what we use. It's just a test of 15 servos without a rift.
But wait, the actual hand, Rick, you're saying you did the CAD work? You designed this whole hand?
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Okay, you say that like it's no big thing.
Yeah, I feel like that is actually very hard, but
yeah.
Sure.
This is basically just what it does is it's got a processor in here, right? And the processor, we upload the code into the processor, and it allows us to test the code to make sure that the code works, all the hex code works.
Right, Rick, let me try to ask a few questions here.
Wait, weren't you in the Bionics meeting, Rick? Were you part of that?
Yeah.
Where we had this whole discussion, I'm struggling with like, how do I put together a Bionics kit? And you failed to mention that you have this whole thing. I think what you have right in your hand would make a great kit in of itself, maybe, because I'm thinking classrooms, students would love to make something like that they could use, just like you said, to test code and see the moving parts. And I think that design that you're holding needs to get into our catalog, along with the instructions of how you make one and how you use it for testing code and all that.
Pretty much, it's relatively simple. I did try to bring it to the attention of the Bionics group, and they really didn't want to hear it. So we just
interesting.
Yeah, I don't understand that. It looks like a wonderful educational device, if nothing else, and a great project for students.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You don't need to print the skins or anything. It's just really a matter of, I mean, you could take pretty much any build and put the servos in it. The problem is the servos are micro servers, and they're not strong enough to do, to use in a real Bionic. But because of the technology, you can get linear actuators that act just like servos.
Sure.
Right? And the linear actuators, then you don't even have to change the code. You just have to recalibrate.
John.
So, Rick, you're developing software and you have this testing rig. Has your software been used on any delivered Bionics?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So he's using I don't know if John is aware of this. We talked about this in the Bionics meeting. Where's my other spreadsheet here? So he's using the microbit controllers. That's what has the Bluetooth programmability.
And what model hand uses these microbit blah blah blah?
He built his own.
Yeah, we build our own, but what we do is we try to make the controller modular so we can put it in any e-NABLE hand. It doesn't make any difference. The only thing is, in most of the e-NABLE hands, you wouldn't have access to each finger and each joint. Okay, so you take the hand as, depending upon which hand you're working with.
Yeah, because in this hand, he's got individual finger controls.
There's 15, and that's not normal, in a standard Bionic. Plus, it would be too expensive to do with if you were doing this with. You could pay $69 for each actuator, so that's not as practical. So what we do is we use this to test every finger, but then we turn the fingers off that aren't going to be on the target. You just mask them. You put a comment in front of the fingers that you're not going to have, or the joints. So each
Rick,
finger has.
sorry, real quick. Outside of the time and labor, what is the total cost for just? This is a dumb question. How much did that hand cost for parts?
$40.
Well, no, including the actuators and everything.
$40.
I thought you said it was $69 per actuator.
These aren't actuators. These are servos that simulate actuators.
Gotcha.
So they're not as powerful, but good enough for testing.
Yeah, I can buy a handful of these servos. They're micro servos for what it used to be like $20 for a fistful of them. And
So I'm beginning to feel like we might have discovered Rick's kryptonite, his greatest weakness being I don't think he recognizes the value of his own work.
no, it's just how we test because it doesn't make sense.
You
I mean,
keep saying it's just this, but it's really an amazing piece of work, Rick, and I encourage you to share that. I think there are a lot of people in the community that would love to build and use, even if it's just to learn.
Rick, let me try to give you some context here. We're about 10 years old. For at least 10 years, people have been saying these mechanically actuated hands are really cute and robust. But and they're typically university students who say this, but I want to work on bionics. And there have been a number of projects, and you've probably read about them, which have produced motor actuated hands and circuitry, and they're all really complicated. They're all really brittle, and none of them have got the stick-to-itiveness or embedded in e-NABLE feature that Rick Williams, PhD, has, which is to say, it looks like we have in Rick and his workshop a person and the expertise and an experience base and an already modular design and a testing framework and some delivered cases that show that this is a viable and doable device. All of that is news to me, and I don't know to who else. It's of great interest, and I'd like to figure out how to make it available to the larger e-NABLE community.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're trying to do now, this code that's in here now is actually going to drive the new fingers that we have all been talking about.
Yeah, great.
However, because of the cost, we're going to do it with one actuator, because you guys got to remember, servos work in grams. They're just not strong enough.
Right.
And actuators, you can get up into the many pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And one actuator could easily service an entire hand, which also makes it a lot less complicated.
Right.
So a couple of things there, Rick. And again, I'm just gonna assume that you know that I am apologizing for cutting you off as often as I do it.
Mm-hmm.
But thing number one, I want to set some time aside with you because I feel like I need a primer on, what is a servo, what is an actuator.
Oh, let's do it anytime you want.
I'd love to join in. I need some education. I need some education too if I'm going to build a kit.
Yeah, because I thought those terms were interchangeable, and that's just telling you where I'm starting now.
Yeah.
But thing number two is
you're actually kind of right. There are actuators that are not interchangeable. But what you want to do is use the ones that are, because then it simplifies the builds in the code. You can build a cheap version, then go to a new version without even changing your code other than calibration. So you're really not wrong.
Interesting. Okay. Well, thing number two, and this is maybe the more important thing, is I want to talk to you about, you said that you've delivered a couple of these to folks in the field. And I want to talk to you about data collection and video collection, so that just to see where you're at with that and see if there's any opportunity to
let's see
collect a little bit more like field testing data.
Let's just see if the three of us can get in a meeting in the coming week, Rick, Adam, and I, because I'd love to learn more about that too. I'd like to know more about the people actually using these bionic devices and what their experience has been. And I think there's more of a discussion than we have time here for today. So can we just coordinate a meeting for the three of us and anyone else who's interested next week?
I do have to be honest. Most of the recipients and the people that look at this think it's a gimmick. And they're probably right.
Well, that's important feedback. I'd want to hear more about the people that have actually received one, though.
Yeah.
A lot of things started as toys that are
That's
now
right.
like, what our society is built on.
Exactly. Yeah, it's demonstrating very important concepts that, the design can always evolve, but
That's why we got away from we got away from a lot of the sensors and a lot of the things that people were using because it didn't make sense. People sweat, people get wet, people, and then they don't work right. The what we're doing with what we remember you and I talked about with the indexed gyroscopics is it's impervious to all of that. And it's simple, it works, and it doesn't have to touch the skin at all. There is nothing electronic has to touch the skin, which is why you get into trouble with the FDA and things of that nature. All that goes away.
There's an element of that webbing design that is showcased in those splints that I wanted to talk to somebody about for use in the actual prosthetic hand design for increased comfort and airflow. But again, discussion for another time.
okay.
Yeah,
Great thought.
we have a lot of designs that we prototype one finger at a time, or we'll prototype them one thing at a time, and it's real easy, and it's cheap, especially the one finger ones, because we're building one right now for the bicycle chain finger, and it's just basically that's what it's going to do. It's going to run one finger at a time, and we're going to have it sit there working for 2 or 3 weeks. Just keep doing its thing and see if we can break it.
Yeah.
I know Jeremy is trying to regain control of the meeting, so I just have one
sorry.
question before I hand it back to him. Do you have or have you had an apprentice in Geppetto's workshop? Some other person who learns from you and what you do?
Yes. We have a young guy named Seth, and he wants to learn to do this stuff, and he comes in and he works in my lab. He's right now learning to use our high-powered industrial laser cutter, and we're building a CNC machine. My CNC machines are all built by CNC machines. I can't afford to buy anything.
How is Seth's writing skills, documentation skills?
Seth is right now he's suffering some brain lock. We have to do it slowly because sometimes he runs out screaming, but such a nice kid. He's about 20 and he wants to help, and he's a really good kid. We just got him a Creality printer.
Okay. The reason I asked this question, Rick, is because I keep getting sort of hit upside the head about what a bundle of knowledge and expertise you are. But I gotta say, you are a terrible explainer.
I am. I agree with you completely.
And
it's not what I do. I mean,
that's right. So that's
right. And you should focus on what you do best.
That's
Rick.
right. I don't want. I wouldn't change you for the world, Rick. But I would be really happy.
I'm a lab rat, that's all. Just a lab rat.
But I would be really happy if there were someone working with you who had the complementary skills that would interface with the community that would like to learn more, and frankly, in a more organized fashion about everything you've got. It's not your problem because it's not your forte to solve this problem, but I'm becoming aware that it's a big opportunity for us.
Well, one of the problems we have, John, is it's very rare we use anything twice. These are always one-offs. And consequently, what that means is we'll build it once and then we use it and it's gone. It immediately, it's gone. So to slow everything down and document each one of these throwaways You know, it's just not what we have done in the past. Somebody will.
And
Yeah,
I agree.
On my lab, now on my desk right now, we have a problem that we're working on, an underwater pneumatic nail gun that we're building for an amputee. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is.
amputee.
And what we're doing is we're building that so an amputee can use it underwater as a scuba diver, right? Now, who else is going to, we're not going to build another one of those. It's going to be a one-off. They're
Rick,
going to.
you're a worthy opponent, but I look forward to continuing to arm wrestle with you. Okay, Jeremy, I'm going to give you a shot here.
Thank you, John.
I'm
Actually,
sorry.
the reason I wanted to move on is not to get into another topic, but I think I want to actually wrap things up if you guys don't mind, because I'd like to take these last few minutes that I have to work with John and Sarah on setting up these Zoom sessions and stuff before their next meeting. So if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to ask if anyone has any very brief last points or questions or anything, and then we're going to wrap. So does anybody have anything that we need to talk about? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and
No,
stop
sir.
this live stream then. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you again